Nerd morning, everyone. My name is Jeremy, and I am with Joseph here
Hi.
as well. And we are going to be talking about the announcement of Willow, which is going to be a series on Disney Plus.
I love this movie. I grew up watching Willow. I remember it when I was like 8.
Yeah,
Such a fun movie,
totally like foundational to my upbringing.
right?
And so what Disney has announced is that they're going to be doing a series for this world, and it's going to have at least one returning
we we
character.
know Warwick Davis.
Yes.
Willow
And
will be there.
so we're going to have him, and everything else is up in the air.
Yeah, don't know yet,
And
but it's cool.
super, super exciting. So, for those who don't know much about Willow, Willow is a fantasy movie that is based around this character, Willow, who has this duty that's assigned to him to protect this young baby who is destined for greatness in the future and ultimately fated to defeat this evil witch. It's very like classic deep fantasy.
Classic fantasy tropes and stories, but done oh so well, so you don't even notice it until you think about it.
Yeah.
So well done.
I am just a tremendous fan, in part because I grew up, I know all of the lines.
All of the lines.
It's such a quotable movie, and it's one that is on Disney Plus. So if you were wanting to watch it, want to be able to explore it, it's available. It's there. It's being somewhat promoted right now because of the
They're
announcement,
announcing it, yeah.
and it's so worthwhile.
Oh yeah. Some interesting things that most people don't always catch the first time they watch it. It was written by George Lucas, and Ron Howard directed it. Personal opinion, George Lucas is an amazing storyteller.
Mm-hmm.
Star Wars, Indiana Jones, Willow,
Yeah.
all amazing stories.
Honestly,
So-
I think for pure story, I feel like, Indiana Jones grew rapidly, has a huge fan base for many, many strong reasons.
Yeah.
Dynamic character, all those types of stuff. Star Wars, a massive universe, so
getting
much to be
bigger.
explored from that, and all of that credit goes there with Lucas and what he started out with on that. I personally think this is his strongest story.
I could get behind that.
I feel like all these other things have so much other really amazing aspects that give them a great
They're
merit.
all great stories
do
and they're
all
fun.
that. But if we're
Yeah.
looking at just that one thing, story itself, this
Yeah.
is my favorite that he produced.
I could get behind that. Yeah.
I feel like for me, as someone who has now read, hundreds of different fantasy novels and has explored big universes, I feel like I see how there a lot of things that parallel to others. And this is just my question of how this people were influenced by this people kind of thing. Is I wonder if Lucas was reading Lord of the Rings and was just like, wow, this is a really cool story, because there are a lot of, I think, narrative points that have been transposed. He's made it his own, but he kind of follows a similar structure.
The pattern is there.
And then I wonder, because they have some of these cool epic traveling shots and some other stuff here, if this movie had influenced the films for Lord of the Rings. Kind of a give and take, back and forth.
That would be fun to find out.
I don't know. Like these creative projects, they rub shoulders with each other, and they influence each other, and that's not like stealing, that's not anything like that.
No.
It's just that we as creative individuals get inspired by
By
things.
others. Sure. Ron Howard has been directing for many, many years, and he's directed some amazing films.
Yes.
So I can totally see Peter Jackson saying, ooh, I like how this was done.
This piece right here.
I would like to do something similar.
Yeah.
Sure, it could have happened.
Some interesting facts about this movie is George Lucas writing this and developing some of the concepts, one of the things that this has in the magical elements is a transformation from animal to animal in rapid sequence.
That was different. Usually, a spell is put on you, you're turned into an animal, you reverse the spell, and you're done.
Yeah.
But it was like a layered curse
and
or spell.
Most of the types of things that they were able to do visually at that time were, there's another moment where they're doing a transformation and there's this creature and it gets kicked and falls into water and then it turns into a different creature. And that's like my non-spoiler reference here with that, right? But they had to cut away in order to really fulfill with that transformation. And George Lucas had at one moment when he wanted those multiple changes happening, it to be on screen. And the people, from my understanding, said that can't be done. We don't have that technology. And they said, well, let's figure out the technology. And this movie created the gateway for a lot of digital and visual effects moving forward. And honestly, it's way ahead of its time.
And historically, thematically speaking, for the history of movie making, George Lucas has done more for special effects than probably anyone else. He was brilliant with that. He developed Industrial Light and Magic for Star Wars and then used it on all of his other movies, but it did so well that he sold the services to many other movies. You can still watch trailers today, and down at the very end it will say Industrial Light and Magic. George Lucas is earning money from that. Okay.
He's got multiple elements with that. Skywalker sound.
Was part of that.
With part of his audio technician, things he's developed. And this movie is a piece of that puzzle.
It is.
And that alone, as like people who are interested in filmmaking or the kind of the history of film, this movie is important in that regard. Beyond it being a great fantasy film, it being I think Val Kilmer's best performance ever. I'm going to say that.
Arguably.
Yeah, I think I'm going to say that. And there's just so many cool things here. So, we've got that announcement. We're going to be having a series. We don't know how long this is going to be, if it's going to be a reoccurring thing with multiple seasons, or if it's going to be, a 6-episode great story that we've been able to expand the world, see how everyone's what's happened with the world, all these years later. We don't know. But there's maybe some hints or clues that we could pull out.
There's some
to find
limited knowledge pieces. George Lucas with Chris Claremont wrote a novelized sequel, I believe a novelized sequel series, with this world, following what happens after the events in the movie Willow. Possible source material for what's going on. That novel focuses more on the child, Elora Danan. So...
And we're having a passage of time. Obviously, everyone's a little bit older now. Laura could be in a very good position at the beginning of the story, being able to be either heroic or leading people or other types of things. Willow has this huge abiding goal to become a wizard and a magical user, and
many years later,
maybe we're going to see that,
succeeded.
So there's some really, really cool things. I'm really excited about this announcement.
It'll be fun.
I think this is something that was so beloved to me and is probably something that not as many people are aware of because it's aged. It's not aged. I don't think it's aged poorly, but it's just become
older.
Not focused in pop culture or things like that.
I wouldn't call it a cult classic, but it has a very dedicated fan group. So
So that's kind of some of the things that we've been thinking about the new Willow announcement. Have you guys watched that movie before? What do you think about it, and what do you think about the announcements? Put those thoughts in the
And
comments
what
below.
is your favorite Willow quote?
Yes, yes.
There are so many good ones. What is your favorite Willow quote?
That would be really interesting to hear. Cool. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to follow Nerd Morning on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Nerd Morning. And I post comic reviews and other types of things there, and also expand off of the different things that we do here on YouTube. Again, thank you so much, and we'll catch you guys another time.